All right, guys, welcome. We are here for the Morro Bay 70.3 pre-race call. I'm Coach Jim. Coach Jason is with me, Coach Chris. We are going to go over some course specifics, course logistics, things to remember as you get into race day, both day before, week of, day before, race morning, leading into the race, and then the specific swimming, biking, running transitions and things to remember throughout. So we do these for Tower 26 does these for typically races where we have a ton of athletes racing, but wherever we see fit, maybe Coach Jason will do one for Hawaii 70.3, Coach Chris will do one for Maine 70.3. It just depends on what you guys are asking for. So if this is something you want done for your specific race, write us, contact at tower26.com, and we will get more races on the pre-race call. But we're doing this live with our athletes, and it is live on Facebook now. So if you guys have any questions throughout, make sure you write it in the chat on Zoom, or if you're watching on Facebook, write it in the comments on Facebook. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, which we'll post it publicly, write it in the comments on YouTube, and we will get the question answered ASAP. So you guys go into race day ready to let it rip with nothing on your mind but execution. Jason, say hi. How you doing, buddy?
What's up? And if you guys have any questions, please comment in the chat below.
There you go. And Chris, you good?
All good. Yep.
All right. So we have a PowerPoint or a, what do you call it? What is the Apple one called? We got this presentation ready to go. Morro Bay 70.3 happening this weekend, this Sunday. Beautiful course. If you guys are a Tower 26 athlete, you've seen this race plan template. If you don't have this race plan template, email myself or Coach Jason. We will get you this race plan template. You fill it out in detail. You do the filling out, then you go over it with the coach. We don't take the test for you, so we don't fill it out for you. You fill it out. We go over it together. Make sure cross all your T's and dot your lowercase j's before you hit race day. If you are not a Tower 26 athlete, you don't have one indicated in your Ironman profile, go do that as soon as this call is over. Make sure you go to your Ironman profile and make Tower 26 your club so we get our club points and you become part of that illustrious team that we are all part of. Always top 5 on the race day rankings for tri clubs. Things to remember: swimming, make sure you have your triathlon kit and your wetsuit. Obviously, the water temperature is going to be in the high 50s, low 60s. Am I right, Jason?
Correct.
High 50s, low 60s. So it's cold. You're going to be wearing a wetsuit. So you want to have your triathlon kit as well as your wetsuit, 2 sets of goggles in case you get a sunny day. Most likely, if I am not mistaken, it's probably going to be foggy in the morning. So have 2 sets of goggles, one tinted and one on the clear side. So be ready for any conditions in case that sun does poke out and you have to worry about that sun in the eyes. So bring 2 pairs of goggles, obviously your wetsuit, and then some Vaseline. The reason you want some Vaseline is any hot spots around your neck, maybe your nipples, maybe under your armpits, things that might get a little chafed while you're in the swim. Also, in colder water, you can put Vaseline on your nose, your cheeks, the top of your hands, the top of your feet. It helps repel water and keep you a little warmer if you're worried about cold water. So any exposed skin, don't get it too close to your eyes, but any exposed skin you could put on that Vaseline on, repel that water and keep you a little warmer as you enter the colder temperatures of Morro Bay. Bike, obviously remember your bike, your helmet, your shoes, socks. If you wear socks in training, wear socks in racing. Race belt, don't worry about that comment afterwards. That's something for Oceanside, and we never switched that comment. So you don't have to wear your race belt on the bike in this race. You only wear it in the run. Warm clothes if you need them on the bike. If you're worried about the wind cutting through that cold water when you get on the bike, maybe something to keep those extremities warmer as you get going. Sunglasses, water bottle, nutrition. We do not forget nutrition. Make sure you're dialed in as to how you're going to execute the nutrition, as well as what products you're going to use and how you're going to set it up on your bike. Make sure you have your toolkit, have some familiarity as to how to change a flat. There is on-course support out there driving around, but if you get a flat tire, you got to get it going on your own, and maybe they'll show up to help you, maybe they won't. And then a pump, something you can keep in your car and get those tires pumped before you drop your bike off at transition on Saturday.
Guys, real quick, can you go back real quick, Jim?
Yeah.
On the bike, warm clothes if needed. Well, what warm clothes? I just got this question today with someone racing Morro Bay. Full finger gloves if you have a light like spring full finger glove, shoe covers, and maybe a wind vest. Keep your chest warm. So, and you can always crinkle up the vest and put it down your kit. So just that's what I would probably bring on the bike if I wouldn't bring anything else. Like leggings, someone asked about leggings. I wouldn't even worry about that. They're impossible to put on when your legs are wet. And it's just, yeah, it's slow and you'll probably rip them trying to put them on. And then what are you going to do when you finish the bike? So just don't worry about the leggings. Keep it simple, light, fast.
And honestly, guys, on that point, you warm up pretty quick, so don't overdress because you're going to be 5 miles in and think, "Why the heck am I wearing all this stuff? Because I'm getting warm already." So you might have to put up with a couple miles of being cold, but I'd rather you be a little cold in the first couple more miles and warm up than be overheated as the race progresses and not want to lose your $250 cycling jacket. So you keep it on and then you hit the run totally depleted. So I'd rather you be on the little chillier side, maybe use gloves, and then you can take them off and put them in a pocket or put them in your bento box. But just know that you'll warm up pretty quick, and especially if it's overcast, the humidity does pump up a little bit, so you will warm up quicker on that bike. So you might have to take.
Ah,
Excuse me, Chris. Chris,
tired.
are you
This is
bored? Chris
it's
is bored. Everybody,
it's
he's yawning.
nearly my bedtime.
Okay, hit mute. Running, we got running shoes, socks, hat, visor, nutrition, and your race belt. So let's make sure that you have that race belt. And if you don't know what a race belt is, you can get off Amazon. It takes 1 day and something you just attach your race number to, so you don't put pinholes in your sexy race kit that you just spent hundreds of dollars on. So just Google running race belt, and those will pop up. They're like $10 on Amazon, and it's much easier to put that on as you're running out of T2. Miscellaneous things you might need, obviously your Garmin, your watch, any bike computer you might be using, your Form goggles. We already talked about Body Glide, sunscreen, something you might want to put on before you leave your accommodations in the morning. Put it on your cheeks, your nose, your chin, your back, your neck. Nowhere above your eye line, though. Remember, you don't want to burn those eyes. So if you're gonna put the sunscreen on, don't put it above your eyes. Vaseline, we already spoke about. Any electrical tape then to cinch down anything that might be a little shaky on the bike, might be a little annoying. Maybe a front water bottle that you have on your aero bars. You want to put an extra loop of electrical tape around that to cinch it down. And then after the race, you might want to change of clothes to get out of that sweaty gear and into something a little more comfortable. Jason, anything?
Yeah, transition, beginning of the race. When you guys set up your bike, I feel like I'm always in need of scissors or electrical tape or something of that nature to where a gel might have fallen off your bike or whatever the case is. Your numbers coming off just because of the moisture in the morning. So I'm always in need of like a tool or scissors or tape. So put that in your bag going into transition when you set up your bike before you leave. It's always good to have, and you don't have to stress out about anything in case that something happens. So just FYI.
Exactly. Be prepared. All right. So the event schedule, Friday, you can actually check in 2 days before the race. You don't have to, but you can. The Ironmans typically have to check in 2 days before a race. Half Ironmans, you don't have to do that, but you cannot check in race day. So you have to check in Friday or Saturday, where you get your wristband. There's athlete briefings at 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. I suggest if you have a chance to go to any of these athlete briefings throughout Friday or Saturday, even though we're telling you a ton of the info here, it's probably best to attend one of those as well for any last minute info and things that may have changed since we did this talk up until they do those athlete briefings. So you might want to check that out. Let's see, make sure on Saturday, after you check in, either Friday or Saturday, you'll get your wristband, but you don't get your timing chip. You only get your timing chip when you go drop your bike off at T1. So you got to go in, rack your bike the day before the race. Then they give you your timing chip at the bike check-in. But you have to check in at the Ironman Village, get your wristband before you go drop your bike off. So you can't just go drop your bike off because you have to have your stickers on there. You got to have the wristband in order to get in the transition. So 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. you have to drop your bike off Saturday, the day before the race, and you have to do that. If I can suggest you drop it off later in the day, do that. Put air in your tires, bring it closer 4 to 5 p.m., somewhere in there, in case it's windy, in case there's weather, whatever it may be. It's not sitting out there all day in the hot sun. Don't go at 10 a.m. It's crazy. It's a madhouse. Everybody's there early. If you go later in the day, it's wide open and it's less chaos you have to deal with. So Go later in the day to check that out. Obviously, or as you see there, there's athlete briefings 11, 1, and 3. Race day, 4 a.m. Shuttle service starts to transition. Just look at the race packet regarding that. You might be staying a little farther away, might need to park a little farther away. So the shuttle service starts at 4, ends at 6. Transition opens 4:15, it closes at 5:45. So it's open for an hour and a half. Really, your bike's there already. All you have to do is go into the transition area, make sure the air is still in your tires. You might have to top it off a little bit. Put your nutrition on your bike. Get your shoes out of your bag. Do the last minute details, but you shouldn't really have to do too much in the transition area. So there's not really a reason to get there at 4:15 a.m. You'll just be sitting around a lot. So I would say you guys get there closer to 5:15, you would be good to go. I mean, obviously give yourself enough time so you're comfortable, but the race does start at 6. It's not a 7 o'clock race like most. So give yourself time that you're comfortable. You can hit the head, you can go to the bathroom, get everything done in the transition area. But I would say you don't have to be there at 4:15. That's way early. So earliest 4:45, latest 5:15, you should be good to go. Race starts at 6 a.m. Right? So there's no pro race start. It just starts right away with all the amateurs. It's a rolling start. So it's a self-seated rolling start starting at 25 minutes, going all the way up to an hour. So seed yourself accordingly, and just know that people are pretty aggressive with their seedings. Right, Jason? Are we right? How's the seeding going?
Yes. We talked about this if you were in the Zoom call on Tuesday. If please be, for one, please be in your correct seating based on your time. So I think they started off at 25 minutes.
Yeah.
And then 30 right every 5 minutes. And there are signs that display that time. So please do your best to, ballpark what you think you're going to finish it and then be in that corral. Because what happens is things get messed up if the slower swimmers try to go first, and then it's a mosh pit. So please seed yourself appropriately.
And we will talk about that when we get into the swim details. But yeah, start thinking about that now, where you approximately want to finish at and how that lines up with those markers every 5 minutes, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, up to an hour and 20 minutes, actually.
Hey guys, so I don't forget, we did a camp in Morro Bay about a month ago. And one thing, if you don't know, the transition area is in a gravel pit. So when you rack your bike, one, check your tires. Make sure there's no little tiny rocks or anything that's maybe protruding into the rubber of your tires. So do a quick check of the tires before you rack your bike, and then pump up your tires. And then make sure a lot of people have electronic shifting now. Make sure, control the controllables. Make sure you have charged your battery. That happens all the time. When people all of a sudden, I can't shift anymore, is because they totally forgot to charge their batteries. Happened to me. Or you forget a battery because you left it charging in your garage before you left. So make sure you carry either an extra battery or charge your shifters.
That's right. And just remember, when you finish, you get your post-race food, get that bike out of there. And if you are looking for a spot to New Zealand for the World Championships in December, or you are getting an award, either by 2:30, they start prompt. So be ready to roll for that and wear your Tower 26 t-shirt. Transition setup when you get there at 4:45, 5:15, make it easy, something that you can identify easily as you run up to it. Don't have too much stuff in your transition area. You have a very tight area, so we don't want to bring a bucket. You don't want to bring a stool. You just want to bring what you'll need. So as you see here, you have your run gear, your run shoes, socks, hat, visor, gels, race belt. Look at your position in the transition area and try and find a big stagnant object that you can identify where your rack is, right? Whether it's a palm tree or a porta potty, something that's not going to move. So when you're running in out of the swim and you're discombobulated from going vertical to horizontal, there's 2,000 bikes. How do you find your bike, right? So if you see a palm tree that's in line with your rack, hey, my bike's by that palm tree or by that outhouse or by that set of stands, something that's not going to move. You can run to that object and your bike is going to be right close to that object. Make sure you check that out Saturday when you drop your bike off. Also check out the way you're going to run from the swim to your rack, and then from your rack, bring your bike to the bike out. And then also check when you come in from the bike, you're going to rack your bike, and where are you going to run to the run out. So know your path through transition from each discipline to the next discipline. Because we got to remember, we're not only swimming, biking, running. Transitions is just as much part of the race, and a place that we can make up a lot of time on, or we can lose or gain a lot of time on our overall time. So on race day, let's make sure we wake up early. You guys have put a lot into this, so don't think that I'm going to get my extra hour of sleep, wake up at 4:30 and be out the door by 4:45. Wake up nice and early. Make sure you get enough fuel in yourself. Eat stuff that's easily digested, like oatmeal with a scoop of jam, a scoop of peanut butter, whatever kind of butter you like. Maybe a banana. Sip on some pH 1500 throughout the morning. And yeah, get that in 2.5 hours before your predicted race starts. So if you think you're going to go at 6:15, 5:15, 4:15, 3:45, you're probably going to eat that breakfast. Bring a banana, bring something else that you want to eat, maybe a bar, something you can eat maybe an hour before the start if you feel like you're a little hungry, or maybe your appetite wasn't huge at 3:45. Bring something that you might want to munch on about an hour out, just give you a little extra calorie boost. Like I said, sip on those electrolytes from the start. Don't pound them. Don't overhydrate, but just have a bottle with you from the moment you start eating your breakfast until you leave your transition area in the morning. Once you get to the race venue, get those air in the tires, or check those tires first, because usually the pumps are the longest line next to the outhouse line. So check the tires. If you see an open outhouse, use it. Even if you don't think you have to go sit in there for 5 minutes and see, or 3 minutes, whatever it takes, and see if something comes out. Never pass an open outhouse. Am I right, O'Driscoll? Like I said, set up that transition area without adding anything you don't need, only the things you need, and put it in an order that you're going to use them. So your bike shoes on the outside, your bike helmet on the outside, and then move inside to your run shoes and your hat and sunglasses, whatever else you're going to use on the run. Like I said earlier, make sure you find those pathways from each discipline to the next, so you know the way you're going to cover as you do. Get to the swim start early, because we need to get a warm-up in. Not necessarily going to be a race day warm-up, and when we have colder temperatures, you got to make sure you get that blood moving. We don't want you to use the first 20 minutes of the swim to get warm. So we want to go for a nice 5 to 10 minute jog. If you've been using your stretch cords, make sure you get in 3x30, 3x40 stretch cords. If you haven't been using those stretch cords, just do some push-ups, do some jumping jacks, get those shoulders moving, do some arm swings. We want to get a good warm-up in, and then we want to go dunk ourselves in the water to make sure that we're accustomed to the water before we hit the start. We don't have to go out there and spend a ton of time, but go in there, dunk your head under, and just take care of that initial shock that you might have if you did it at the start of the race. So all this stuff before, but just know your program before you go into race day. So Saturday, think about it. Say, okay, I'm going to head down to the beach at 5:40. I'm going to go for a run for 5:50. I'm going to go dunk myself in the water till 5:52. Then I'm going to do some jumping jacks, arm swings. I'm going to line up in the 35-minute group and be ready to go by, 6:05 or whatever you think your official start time is going to be based on where you're lining up. I already covered the warm up. We're good to go with that. Jason, you want to talk about the
All right, guys, real quick.
Yeah.
Before you even get, Jim said, dunk yourself in the water. Yes, definitely dunk yourself in the water to get rid of that ice cream headache. But here's the thing, you can't get into the water on the course, on the bay side. You got to go, you can see where the beach is on the picture in that upper left corner. That's the open ocean side. That's where all the waves are breaking. It's daunting, and especially early in the morning. We checked it out during camp. There's a bunch of waves, but it's a nice open spot. So I'm not saying you got to swim, because it'll be kind of hard to swim. Just dunk yourself into that side, not the bay side, the other side, and then come back to transition, or come back to that bike path, and then do a little running and warm up your swim cords or whatever you do before you get in. So on not the bay side, the opposite side is where you dunk. And that's totally your call. That's what I told my guys. So yeah, but just regarding how to get in the water, that's how you do it.
There you go. Get that warm up in those guys. Everybody else can be milling about. They're going to be talking. They're all this nervous energy, and it's going to be really uncomfortable for you to be like, know what, I got to go warm up. But do it. It's going to benefit you. So make sure if Johannes, you and Troy and and Mitch got to grab each other and say, okay, let's go warm up, grab some friends and go do it and keep each other accountable, because it's really easy to get caught up in the commotion and not do it. Just be like, I'll just get warmed up in the first 20 minutes of the swim. You're going to benefit greatly, and you're going to make every second count on course if you make sure you get that warm up in. So plan
Yeah,
it
and
beforehand with some friends to keep each other accountable.
definitely. And think about it, guys. Every time we swim, how long is our warm up? 15 to 2K. So put that in perspective of when you actually feel good during your main set. It's like you're already almost 15 to 2K in. So don't get an extensive warm up in, if that makes sense. So if you think you're warmed up just by dunking yourself in the water, you're probably not. Okay. Go kind of a little above and beyond. Think about that.
Yep.
Water temperature. So go ahead, Jim.
No, you're good. Take it away. You got the swim course.
Water temp it was probably 64, 65 when we were there, but we obviously know it's going to be like that. But at this, just plan on being cold. So 2 caps, I would suggest 2 caps. I do 2 caps if you want. Some people like booties if you want. My feet never get cold, but I know a lot of people who have booties on. Let's see. The buoys. So real quick, guys, the red buoys, you have to go around them. This is kind of confusing. So the red buoys, you have to go around. Those are the turn buoys. The yellow buoys, orange buoys, you can be on either side of those buoys. So pick a lane to which there's no traffic. And if someone tells you, a person, a lifeguard, whoever, no, you got to be on the outside, you don't. Obviously, you have to on the red. So just swim under them or around them and just be like, oh, I don't know what you're saying. So you're going to left turn that first buoy going into the harbor, right turn, right turn. You're coming back, left turn. This is the confusing part. And then you're going to left turn going back to the big rock. But again, if you see a yellow or orange buoy, you don't have to be on the outside of it. All right. You can be on either side. So you pick your lane of traffic that's not being used. When you sight, try to do your best the day before if you can to figure out the sightings. It's kind of hard if you don't get in the water, but do your best on the sightings. Now, obviously, there's a huge rock there, so that's kind of a good sighting point regarding what vintage of the your sighting of the rock you want to look at. When we were there, I thought it was really simple. So, but you shouldn't have a problem because the buoys they're 100 meters apart, so you shouldn't have any problem sighting.
Yeah, if you just follow the sighting buoys, you got one left turn, one, two, three right turns, another left turn, another left turn, another left turn, you're at the finish. So it's 7 red buoys, a left turn, 3 right turns, 3 left turns, and you're home. But don't get caught up in all the details of, where I'm at, where's this turn, where's that turn. Just follow the sighting buoys, and as long as you know generally where you're supposed to be at each of those turns, you'll be fine. So don't overthink it. Don't think, oh my God, how am I going to figure this out? You're just going to be following everybody in front of you, and it's pretty self-explanatory once you're out there. But just have a good concept of what the course looks like. Study it and just pay attention to the details of where you are on the course. Like Jason said, if there's a rock that you want to sight off of, like we say here, you can use the shore and the harbor wall for sighting to make sure you're swimming parallel to those. There's plenty of things that you can use as touch points to sight off of as you're getting through this. Because typically, Jason, is it more of a rough swim, or is it a cleaner water when you're going through this swim course?
Yeah, you're in the harbor, so super flat.
Super flat. So sighting should be much of an issue. The most problem you'll have is just other athletes kicking up, churning up water. So pay attention to those sighting buoys. You have yellow ones on the way out, orange ones on the way in. When those sighting buoys change from yellow to orange, you're halfway finished with the swim course, FYI. Each one is numbered, and they are every 100 meters. So you get out of the transition run, it's a short run into the transition area, nothing to be too concerned about.
Yeah, guys, super short run into the transition area. So I think if you're cold and you're having problems with your fingers, like trying to unzip and all that kind of stuff, use a volunteer. I believe you might want to ask, but I believe the volunteers are, if you ask, you can lie down and they can help strip your wetsuit off. Usually they unzip your wetsuit for you when you come out. So if you're feeling hands on your back, that's what they're doing. They're unzipping everyone's wetsuit as you get out of the water. So use the volunteers.
Yeah, if it's a problem that you're having. Otherwise, just keep running, moving forward, zip that wetsuit down, bring it down to your thighs if you can as you get to your transition area. Throw your helmet on and then rip that wetsuit down the rest of the way off of your legs, right? If you need to sit down to there, do it, sit down to do it. But I like to put my helmet on before I take the wetsuit off over my legs, just so I have that done. Stand up, you can leave your wetsuit right there. Put on your bike shoes while you're sitting down. You don't have to put them on while you're standing up, especially if if you're a little off balance from going vertical to horizontal, running in the transition. Probably want to sit down and put those shoes on. Once you put the shoes on, grab your bike. You run it to the bike out. Once you cross that mount line, you can get on that bike. The mount line is right past the bike out, so make sure you cross the line and then you get on to your bike to ride it over the bike course. Remember, if you're going to wear socks, if you train with socks on, wear socks on race day. Like I say in the first note here, make it snappy, but not hasty. If you're hasty and you say, "I'll forget it, I'm just not going to wear socks," a blister could ruin your day. So whatever you plan on doing, make sure you do it, because 5 seconds of putting socks on could cost you an hour in the long run, literally, because you have a blister. So put the socks on if you have to. Make sure you get those helmet and sunglasses on before you grab the bike and head out of transition. Believe me, we've all seen people run out of transition without their helmet on. So let's make sure you do that. And then you got to cross that mount line before you get on your bike. Remember, in the morning, it could be a little dewy. There could be a little moisture on the ground. So when you are running with your bike or walking, be very careful. We don't want you to slip. We had an athlete slip at Oceanside, and it took him out of the run because he nailed his hip pretty good, nailed his toe. So just be really careful. We need you to finish the race. So if it means you need to walk the bike or be very careful running your bike out of transition, make sure you are aware that it could be slippery. Bike
Guys,
course.
real quick, don't change anything. Don't do something you're not used to doing. Meaning, you're going to see a lot of people rubber band their shoes to their bike. Don't do it if you haven't done it yet. Put your shoes on, like Jim said. Put your shoes on. Right. Sit down. Put your shoes on, and then run out of transition with your bike and shoes on your feet, and then get on your bike.
So regarding execution on the swim, I kind of bypassed this. I want to come back to the swim quickly. Uh, the water is cold, or there's a chance that, there could be some type of hyperventilation. You're around, 2,000 of your best friends. You got a wetsuit on. The water's cold. You could get that cinching up of the lungs, and you could lose your breath a little bit. No matter who you are, let's take your time and build the effort. First 200 meters. So by you hit 200, 250, 300, then you really find that half Ironman race day speed. Don't think that your race, or you can make or break your race in the first 100, 200, 250, 300 meters of the swim. Use that to get moving. Even though we did a good warm up beforehand, you're still adapting to the water. I just don't want you to take it out too fast and then have an issue where you got to go hang on to a floaty or call a lifeguard over to help you out for a little bit. If that does happen, worst case scenario, that does happen, your day isn't ruined. You just got to catch your breath, settle down, and then start back into an easier swim stroke. But we want to head that off of the pass, build into your effort, let that first 200, 300 meters build, so you really find that stride, that swimming stroke that you want to hold for a half Ironman effort by 300 in. Just don't be in a rush. It's a long day. It's a long race. It's not made or broken in that first little bit. So take the time to build into it, and let's make sure that we are prepared for everything. And you just know that we want to cross the run with a finish line at the end of the run strong, and we don't want to top out at the beginning of the swim.
Hey, Jim, there's a question. What type of terrain is there when you come out of the water? So Ironman actually will put a structure of stairs. There's a bunch of boulders and rocks at the finish. I believe they have a wooden structure that you come out, which is carpeted, I believe. And then the parking lot where transition is all kind of rocky. It's not big rocks, but little tiny rocks that can ruin your day if you step on one wrong. So just light feet and be careful.
And it's nothing you really have to worry about once you get your bike shoes on. Just give your foot a sweep with your hand before you put your bike shoes on to make sure there's no pebbles caught on there or whatever. But you don't need to dunk your foot in a bucket or anything. It'll kind of come off on its own. But if you need to give your foot a swipe quickly with your hand to remove anything else that might be on there before you put your shoe on, just do that. Bike course, very self-explanatory. You go out, you turn around, you come back, 56 miles, 90K, 1,670 feet of elevation gain. We stay right on the whole time. The only time you move left is to pass another athlete. Make sure you look right again before you move back to the right so you don't cut anybody off or move over too soon, driving somebody into the ditch on the side of the road. On the road, signs, there's not many signs. It's just go out, 28 miles, turn around, come back 28 miles. Know where the transition, I mean, sorry, the fueling stations are. They're about every 15 miles on this course. So you get one at 15, you get one around 27 or 28, and then you get another one around 45. So anticipate that. Typically, athletes don't need to take on fuel in that first aid station because you're starting mile 15 is for most of us 40, 45, 50 minutes into the race. So you should have your thing enough on your bike. If you need water, you need Gatorade, or I think they have Mortal now. You need a gel. I'll take it from the station. One thing that you might want to do at that first aid station is grab a water and just spray it all over your face, spray it on your legs, just for a little wake-up call, something to get all that salt water off of you and just get kind of a fresh start. It'll dry off with the wind resistance that you're creating. So that might be something you want to do at mile 15. But at the other aid stations, know how you're going to take on or what you're going to take on, what you anticipate you're going to need at those aid stations, and use them, guys. If you need to refill the front end water bottle, if you need to take a gel or two, the way the aid stations work on the bike is the first group of volunteers has water. The second group of volunteers has Gatorade. The third group of volunteers, as they're lined up, right? So it goes water, Gatorade, any type of food and gel, and then it goes Gatorade, water, right? So you get 2 chances at water and Gatorade. It goes water, Gatorade, food, gel, Gatorade, water. So you can grab water from that first volunteer you see, spray it all over yourself, throw that bottle away, and then take another water from the last volunteer and then refill any bottles you might need, or put that into your bottle cage if you're dropping a bottle and taking on water or Gatorade or whatever you might need. So just so you know, every Ironman race, it's the same setup. Water, Gatorade, food, gel, Gatorade, water. So that's how it's going to be at mile 15, a mile 26, and then around mile 45 at those aid stations. Jason, when they're going out, coming back, where are they going to find the wind typically on this course?
Just like pretty much everywhere on the coast, there's this kind of cross tailwind going southbound. So you'll be a little bit in the headwind going north, and then you'll have a little bit of a cross tailwind when you return.
So just know that you guys all filled out the pre-race plan. You all have efforts, numbers that you want to abide by based on your specific ability levels. Stick to those numbers. I don't care if your speed, if we get a huge headwind when you're headed out north, 28 miles, and the headwind is 25 miles an hour, and you're going 12 miles an hour, but your heart rate or your power is in the range you planned, you keep it in that range, right? We aren't pushing harder just because our speed doesn't tell us what we want to see. That's going to set us up for failure on the run. We always stay within our ability levels. Now, that being said, when you're going into the headwind, you're on the stronger end of that range, right? So if your heart rate wants to be 140 to 150 for the race, when you're pushing into a headwind, you're at 150. When you turn around and you come back and you get a tailwind, that's where your effort's on the lower end of that range, right? So 140 to 150 on the way out into the headwind, you're pushing 150. When you turn around and come back, you're on the lower end, you're at 140, right? Because you burned too many matches trying to put in a bigger effort with a tailwind, with a push, right? So when the course gets harder, we want to ride harder. When the course gets easier, less resistance on the course, we want to ride a little easier, right? Think about going uphill. When you're going uphill, same thing. You want to push at the higher end of effort. When you're going downhill, you push at the lower end of effort. You don't want to burn those matches trying to push too much of an effort with the tailwind. But know your effort going in. You could even, I race on effort. I've been racing for years based on effort, but I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. So I know my effort, to the heart rate number specifically. Know the effort that you want to hold. And if you feel like you're overcooking it, even though your numbers are saying what you want to see number-wise, have the confidence to back it down. Because like I said earlier, it's a swim transition, bike transition, run transition. It's not all left on the bike and then limping through the run. Because the run is 13 miles. It's a long way to go. Make sure you're prepared for that and you're realistic in the numbers that you want to hold and they're within your ability level. Also, when you're going into a headwind, stay in that TT position. Your inclination is going to want to get up, push a little higher wattage. All you're doing there is creating more resistance. So stay in the TT position as long as you can. If you got to get up and stretch it out every so often, do that. You can do it on the descent. You can do it as you're climbing. But for the most part, if you can stay in that TT position, especially into the headwind, you're going to cut the air a little with a little more efficiency than you would if you were sitting up, putting out a little more power. So you will move faster with less power in the TT position, and you'll save those matches instead of your mind saying, sit up, get more power, go a little faster, create more resistance and burn more matches by doing that. With the tailwinds, stay TT as much as you can, but if you need to stretch it out a little more on the way back and you have a tailwind that's pushing you along, you can use a little more of that time to stand up and stretch it out, but get back in that TT position when you can. Go ahead, Jay.
Yeah, manage your efforts wisely. Right at the beginning, you're going to feel like 300 watts is nothing. So manage or whatever. Manage your watts, just like the pool, just like the run. Manage your watch. Kind of, I don't say negative split, just maintain, because it's all survival at the end. I don't care who you are. All right, no one's going to really drop the hammer, as they say. So just maintain the effort, or manage the effort appropriately. One thing I wanted to say about the nutrition side, we talked about the feed. Write down, like maybe on a piece of paper or a piece of tape, and put it on your bike where the feed stations are around the miles, because sometimes you lose a bottle, sometimes you lose all your feed. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, when's the next feed station? Well, it's right, boom, it's right there on your top tube or whatever the case is. Try not to memorize it because there's too much stuff going on in your head. So know where the feed stations are for one, just so you can manage that in case. And it's going to be cooler. I think the number one thing I remember from last year from our athletes is they didn't take enough fuel in the beginning because it was so cold. We don't want to drink when it's cold. We don't want to eat when it's cold. You got to force the nutrition. You got to force the carbohydrates. You got to force the water, even when it's cold. You don't want to drink when it's cold. You have to drink. So put a reminder on your watch. I have an alarm every 15 minutes. My alarm makes a noise for me to drink or to eat or whatever. So kind of a hack. Set an alarm on your watch and then abide by that watch, no matter if you're hungry or thirsty or if you're not.
Exactly. And no, so get the fuel in. If you miss the fuel on the bike, it's going to affect you on the run. Also, just like in the swim, use that first 5, 10, 15 minutes to get moving. Don't really judge anything number wise, heart rate, power on that first 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Get the body moving, get loosened up, and then your numbers will start to fall in alignment, or the effort will start to fall in as you get warmed up and get moving. So ride that first portion off of effort, not so much dialed into, oh my God, my numbers are so high, I need to really just soft pedal right now. Go off the effort you should be holding, and eventually that heart rate, that power will settle into the area that you want it to be settled. But don't be worried if your heart rate is really spiked after going from the swim, the transition to the bike. Give yourself some time to settle into it, and don't freak out if your heart rate is spiked in the first portion of the bike. Some bike notes: nice, strong, maintainable effort. Stay within your ability level. Don't let a huge spike happen on the hills. Keep it nice and steady. Like I said, be on the higher end as you're climbing, higher end of your effort level, but not out of control with it. Good, smooth pedal stroke, nice, efficient pedal stroke, driving from the knees. Lower leg is nice and relaxed. Don't grind too low of a gear. All you're doing is blowing out your muscles for that. Don't spin too high of a gear. You're blowing out your aerobic engine. So a nice 75 to 80 cadence average is great. Like I said, stay right at all times. Make sure we are thinking about those hills. Like we said, just be really cognizant of the effort as you go up the hills. We've got to make sure we run the 13 miles strong. So we don't want to overcook those hills. We already talked about the arrow position. Stay present and focus on the process. 56 miles is a long time to be out there, guys. It's a lot of time for your mind to wander. As your mind starts to wander, recognize it and bring it back to present. Think about your technique. Think about your breathing. Don't worry about what you're going to do after the race, what your family's doing at the current moment, what you're going to eat for dinner tonight. Think about that pedal stroke. Think about your breathing. Think about things that are process oriented. But always beware of those surroundings, other riders, and there could be vehicles on the course as well. So just have your head on a swivel regarding all those external factors, even though you are dialed into the process. break the distance down to smaller chunks. There's 5 mile markers. So every 5 miles, you get a mile marker and a half Ironman. So you can ride 5 miles to 5 miles. It's an easy way to break it down. And also, like Jason said, if you're timing your nutrition every 15 minutes, or maybe you're taking a sip of your electrolytes every 5 minutes, is a good way to break it up even smaller chunks, right? I'm going to drink every 5 minutes. I'm going to take a gel every 15 minutes. And you always have something to look forward to and tick off as you go through. Before you know it, you could be 2.5 hours in going into T2. Like we said, make sure you stay on top of those nutrition intervals, even if it's cold, even if it's raining, whatever it may be, you're always on top of that nutrition, because cramps happen no matter what the weather is. Same thing, make sure you get off the mount. Make sure you get off your bike before the dismount line, guys. You can't cross the line. There's plenty of volunteers out there yelling, get off your bike, get off your bike. So you got to get off that bike before the dismount line, which is the mount line as you're going out. So you can't get on it till after it. You got to get off it before it when you're coming in the T2. Once again, run or carefully walk your bike to your transition rack. We don't want you slipping. The ground is going to be even more wet because everybody came in from the swim to their bike rack. So be careful with that. Rack the bike, sit down, put on your socks, put on your shoes, take your helmet off, and then grab all the rest of your stuff and get out of transition. I don't want you standing there to put on your belt, put on your hat, put on your sunglasses. I want you to do all that as you're moving, guys. Transition is part of the race, right? So you put on your shoes, you put on your socks if you didn't put them on the bike. You put on your shoes, take your helmet off, grab everything else, and go. You don't have to have that on when you run out of transition. You can put on your race belt, your sunglasses, your hat. All that stuff can happen as you're moving. You don't have to stand at your rack and do that. All you're doing is killing time, right? Keep moving forward. I want to see the fastest transitions, and I don't want anybody telling me if my transition was just 30 seconds faster, I would have had a PR by 20 seconds, or I would have been in 4th place, would have got a trip to Worlds, whatever it may be. I want you to know that you eked every second out of this course, and that comes in transition as well. Also, if you're a weaker swimmer, maybe you're a weaker biker, you can make up a lot of time by being faster than other athletes in transition, and this is one of the ways you do it. Grab all your stuff and get going once you have those socks and shoes on. Let's make it snappy. Also, don't be hasty. If you wear socks, put the socks on. If you forget a gel and you need that gel, turn around, go back and get it from your rack. You forget your race belt, you got to wear it on course. You got to run back and get it. So make it snappy, but don't be hasty. Remember everything. If you got everything you got to grab and take with you, grab it and take with you. Run notes. Jason, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, runs rolling, but pretty flat for the most part. There's only a couple power hills they have to go off of. They changed the run course from I believe from camp a month ago. So basically it's 2 loops. You go south into this kind of swamp area, as you can see in the bottom in the green area. That's all kind of swamp area, golf course, kind of lonely. So make sure you're focused when you get to that spot, because there's not going to be any people cheering you on there. There's not going to be any claps, any high fives, unless you're passing someone, a buddy. So make sure you're dialed in that kind of, I call it the lonely swamp. And then when you get back into town, there's a couple power hills on the way back. So just make sure, just like the bike, you want to power up the hills, increase your cadence, but don't spike that heart rate too much. Stay in your zone. And then when it flattens out, get your heart rate back down, and then proceed with your kind of in the groove. There's a 180 right in the middle of the course, and then there's a right near the finish line. You turn around, go right back out on the course again. So pretty self-explanatory, but I would suggest either riding the entire course or maybe doing 1 lap the day before.
And is it on a bike path, or what type of terrain is it on?
It's on all roads, all roads.
Okay,
Real quickly, I want to back up just real quick. Speaking of a T2, when you guys hit the bike, speaking of bike path, there's one little tiny bike path about, I don't know, half a mile or so, going out of transition, coming back in the transition. Right when you guys hit the bike path coming back, actually picture in your head yourself going into transition too. Okay, what am I doing? Okay, my shoes are there, my sunglasses are there, my fuel belt's there. I need to get a gel. Just picture yourself what you're going to do in transition, and then execute. That's what I always do. Right when I go into transition at the end of my swim. Where's my stuff? What am I doing? So I'm not constantly like looking around and wasting time.
Exactly.
Back
Visualize
to the
it.
run.
Visualize
Exactly.
it.
So yeah,
Um,
pretty flat for the most part. I mean, some punchy climbs. If you guys have done Oceanside, there's some climbs coming into town from the main drag. Other than that, there's only maybe three. You guys that went to camp that are on this call, chime in. Let me know what you think. They did this exact course. We actually, by not mistake, but we did a long run. We actually did this course, not knowing it was going to go out into the swamp. So they know it. So you guys please chime in if you have any comments or
so
concerns.
just know when you come out of transition, your legs gonna be a little heavier, right? So you're gonna have to take 5, 10, 15 minutes, same thing, maybe a mile, maybe 2 miles to get the legs moving. Don't be in a rush. Get the legs moving. 13 miles is a long way to grind it out, right? And it adds up. Once you get moving 10, 15 minutes in, find that pace that you were shooting for, find that heart rate you were shooting for, and maintain it. If you have anything left at the 10-mile mark, that's when you rip it off and you let you open it up, open the throttle, and give it what you have left. But stick to your race plan as you progress through, because once you hit set mile 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, you still have 6.2 miles to go. You still have a 10K to go at mile 7. So we want to make sure that we're accounting for the distance that we have to cover. You stay within your zones, and at that 10-mile mark, that's where you put your head down and you give it everything you got to cross that finish line. Break it up into smaller segments. I like to go 1 mile at a time. I go 1 mile. I check my watch. My watch goes off. Okay, I'm in my zone. Let me go to the next mile. Okay, I'm in my zone. Let me go to the next mile. And you might not be running any faster, hit mile 10, 11, 12, 13, but you know you're giving it all because you paced it out correctly. You got your nutrition in from the start, from before the swim, all the way through the bike, through the run. You stayed on top of your nutrition. You paced yourself correctly. You stayed within your ability levels. That allows you to give it your all the way to the finish line. The minute per mile pace might not change in the last 3 miles, but if you're able to dig to that next level, you paced everything out accordingly, and you're giving it everything you have left in the tank to cross the finish line. Run your race, stay present, stay mindful, stay focused on the process. A good check-in point I like to use is drive your knees, right? Okay, I'm gonna drive my left knee through the running stride for 50 strides, and I'll drive the right knee through. You hit some of those power hills, drive the knee, drive, and it just helps you get back into the correct technique. And like I said, if you pace it out correctly, you're gonna finish strong. There's a chance with some overcast conditions, it could be humid out there. So make sure you're using water at the aid stations. There'll be aid stations every mile, dumping it over your head. Aid stations are set up the same way on the run as they are on the bike. So you have water, Gatorade, food, and then you're gonna have cola. So if you want to get some caffeine in and a little quick burst of sugar, start taking a little bit of that cola as you go through the aid stations. You're not chugging it, you're just taking a little sip. And then they have Gatorade and then water, right? And or Mortal, it's the electrolyte drink, whatever it may be. If you feel crampy at all and you think you have a cramp coming on, get in that electrolyte drink. And if you take some of that straight drink, and you might have to back off the pace a little bit, it should quell that cramp. You need to stop and stretch out the cramp, do that as well. But if you get on top of those electrolytes early and often, that's something we shouldn't have to worry about.
Guys,
And
when you
attack,
real
guys. We want to
quickly,
attack that course, make sure that we're getting the most out of every second out there. Every second counts, and I just don't want you guys to finish saying coulda, shoulda, woulda, right? Let's anticipate the situation, think on our feet, and like I said, let's have our best performance by performing within our ability level. Go ahead, Jay.
and especially on the run, anticipate a little gut rot. So if that happens, for me, I always have a gel in my hand, just because I'm always under fueling. So I always have a gel in my hand. I'm always sipping. So um, if you do have a little gut rot, what you do, either whether it's Gatorade or a gel, put it in your mouth, leave it in your mouth. Don't swallow it, spit it out until that gut rot goes away, and just keep pounding the water.
Yeah, exactly. So gut rot is just that bloating, just the sour stomach feeling. It's just from too much sugar, right? Especially with everything that we always promote taking gels. If you're taking a sugary drink on top of that, there's a chance that could be happening. Recognize it, switch to straight water. That'll flush the gut out, and you'll be on to better things. But it's just a moment in time, guys. It's not make or break. It's about thinking on your feet, using all the knowledge that we've given you over the months and months of work leading into this, and making sure you're adapting to each situation as it presents itself. But by filling out that race plan that we have, it gives you a good overview, a good foundation, and from there we make adjustments based on what's going on in the actual moment, but we're as prepared as we can be going into the race by filling out that pre-race plan. All right,
Any
questions?
guys that
Anybody?
went to, yeah. Any guys, if you have questions, especially the people that went to Morro Bay camp, please, let me know or us know anything we missed, or maybe comment on something that helped you when you're at camp.
Yeah, exactly. Jason did a great camp going into this, and a lot of our athletes took part in it. So we look forward to some good racing with all that recon that was done. So any questions to finish this off? Anybody got anything? Troy, you good? Johannes, we good? Tony, we good? Thomas, you good, buddy? Greg?
Hey, Thomas, I want you to stay on.
Okay. All right, guys. Mitch, you good?
Yes,
Just
sir.
has
Thank
something.
you.
You're unmuted. You must have something. What do you got? What's on your
I
mind?
just want to say thank you and good luck, everybody. Let's go. I'm pumped to see you all up there, and let's attack.
Yeah, no, we got some good things going. If you guys anything else, make sure you reach out to the coaches, write it in the comments, and we'll get that right back to you guys. But thanks for joining, Jason. Anything else from you?
Nope, that's it. Good luck, guys.
O'Driscoll, you've been up there. You got anything else you want to add?
No, it's all good. Good. I'm looking forward to it the weekend. Looking forward to tracking everybody. We got a few seats left on the bus going to New Zealand, our Tower 26 road trip. If anybody wants to step up,
Exactly.
Hannes is laughing. Look at him. Look.
Chris is gonna be rowing the boat over there.
Yeah, we got a big contingent going to New Zealand. Looking forward to a few more.
That's
Mitch.
right. That's right, buddy.
Hannes, come on, dude.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining, everybody.
Luck,
Get those
everybody.
comments, get those questions in before race day, and we will get right back to you. But thanks for joining, everybody. More information, go to tower26.com, and we will get you set up with coaching if you need it. So, bye, guys. Later.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Jason.
Thanks, guys.